Hello and welcome back. We now go to our next guest, Mr. Daniel Pipes from the Middle East Forum. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you.
Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. So we know that Biden, President of the United States, Joe Biden, reportedly told Netanyahu that given the fact that the attack caused minimum damage, Israel should consider the incident a win and not respond militarily. And we know that Israel has a lot on its plate. It has the war with Hamas. Now this. Why does Israel want to retaliate? Shouldn't just call, we damaged the consulate in Damascus. You retaliated. Why does Israel want to escalate this conflict?
I think the Israeli sense is that a new stage has started. Now that the Iranian government has attacked Israel directly, overtly, publicly from Iranian territory itself, the Israelis widely agree that this is something new and not something that they can accept. In other words, the Iranians get to attack, the Israelis defend themselves quite successfully, and that's it. Fine. End of story. The Israelis feel that if they've been attacked like this, they should be able to respond and show the Iranians that there's a price to be paid. Because right now, the Iranians have not paid a price. They have attacked Israel and paid no price. So the Israelis are debating whether that's more important or keeping goodwill with the Americans, British, French, Jordanians, Emiratis, and others is more important. Not an easy question.
No, it certainly isn't an easy question, Daniel. However, would it not make more sense for Israel to take a breath? It's already fighting Hamas in Gaza. It's being attacked by Hezbollah. It's being asked for restraint. And rather than risk a tit-for-tat reaction immediately with Iran, to take its time and perhaps give a considered response at a later time when temperatures have cooled a bit. What would you say to that proposal?
Well, I think that's the sort of idea that is probably being forwarded in Israeli War Council circles. Is it better to go right away, act while the temperature is still hot, or wait till a later date when things are cooler? Personally, I would be inclined to advise the Israelis to go and act now. I think the dangers today are much less than they will be in the future when the Iranians have nuclear weapons, and the Israelis should take advantage of this opportunity and strike at the Iranian nuclear infrastructure. The Israelis have talked about this for a very long time. They have done nothing. No one has done anything. I think the time is now.
Now, the whole world is actually anticipating the retaliation, Israel's retaliation. Today's Israel's War Cabinet meeting took place. We don't hear any concrete decisions that were made during that meeting. What do you believe we can expect? I mean, Joe Biden is saying, please don't do it. I mean, the whole world, Europe is also doesn't want Netanyahu to retaliate. But Netanyahu is not listening. He's not listening to when it comes to the war with Hamas, and it's not going to listen probably when it comes to Iran. What can we anticipate? Is it going to be air attack as well? Is it cyber attack? What do you believe is going to happen in coming days or hours?
You're asking me to predict now. I am inclined to think that the Israelis will take some action, whether it will be against the nuclear infrastructure or a cyber attack or something else. I have no idea, but I do think the Israelis see this as an opportunity to send a message to the Iranians, as well as to destroy some important infrastructure on the Iranian side. It's, I have no inside information. It's a prediction. I don't think the Israelis will let the Iranians attack them from Iran and let this go by.
Right. Going back now to calls for restraint by leaders around the world, Daniel, there are elections happening this year in many countries, including, of course, the United States. How much do you think those elections are influencing President Biden's calls for restraint? And is it just to appease the population that he's asking for restraint, and perhaps in backroom conversations he's saying something quite different? What do you think?
I do think that President Biden is ambiguous and divided. On the one hand, he has a fundamental sympathy for Israel going back many decades. On the other hand, he has a left wing of the Democratic Party that despises Israel and wants to damage Israel. And somehow or other, he's trying to balance these two approaches. The result is not very satisfactory and not very coherent. The joke in Republican circles is that Biden has a two-state strategy, and those two states are Michigan and Nevada, not Israel and Palestine. That he's more concerned about elections than he is about foreign policy. I think that's a bit too strong, but clearly he is divided between his own basic outlook and the demands of the left wing of his party. That said, I'd like to point out that the passions against Israel concern Gaza and the West Bank, concern the Palestinians. They do not concern Iran. You do not see a vociferous and large body on the left believing that Iran is justified. So I think Biden has more freedom of action, and thus the Israelis have more freedom of action when it comes to Iran than they do with the Palestinians. That makes me all the more inclined to think that the Israelis will go ahead and ignore the demands, as they have done many times in the past. For example, in Iraq, when they attacked the nuclear infrastructure in 1981. And I think they're likely to do something dramatic now again.
Mm-hmm. Now, on Saturday, we know that, among others, the United States helped Israel to shoot down the drones and missiles that were going their way. Of course, United States says that made it clear that that they're not going to help Israel, well, with boots on ground, I guess we can say. However, Israel is waiting for that aid package that is connected to Ukraine's aid package. How soon do you think this will be voted on, and how much is Israel is fighting for here when it comes to that aid package is going to be voted in Congress?
Well, when we start talking about the aid package, we get into the details of the House of Representatives and its politics. Clearly, the Speaker of the House would like to get the Ukraine and Israel aid package passed. He has a body of his own Republican caucus that is reluctant to see aid going to Ukraine. So he has to be very careful how he does this. But it looks more like that's going to happen now than it did a week or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In the last minute or so that we have left, Daniel, just a very quick one. You mentioned the nuclear facilities in Iran. Now, you know, as you say, Israel has been for many years saying they will destroy those facilities as soon as they become close to operational. How close to being operational are they at the moment, so far as you are aware?
As far as I'm aware, it's just a matter of weeks. The Iranians could begin to deploy nuclear weapons quickly. And it's also not clear how good the intelligence on the Iranian nuclear program is. It could be quite wrong. It was wrong with North Korea. It could well be wrong with Iran.
Indeed. Well, we shall certainly be watching that closely. Daniel, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with our audience. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Daniel, very much.